A while back, I had spoken about my discontent with the political climate in the United States, and we're going to get into how this connects soon. But one of the things I was told by a person who called himself appreciating my uh, continued focus on that subject was, oh, it's okay that other people aren't into it because there are people such as you and myself who are into this. And for a while, I tolerated that perspective for the simple fact that that is true. There are people who are into various things. But I think that when you have such variance, if a person who's into one thing cannot accept the fact that someone else is into the other thing without trying to demean and otherwise degrade them for having that difference, there's a problem. Suddenly, it becomes hard for you as the person with the alternative likes and dislikes to accept the other person for their wants and needs because they can't do that for you. Effectively, what was being asked is that I somehow take it upon myself to be accepting of what that person is while having them show intolerance, downright contempt for what I am. And I just couldn't follow the same doctrine. Although I am less vocal in my discontent. But the subject, let me say a little Donahue, of this is that a lot of times I've thought about what could have been in terms of, if people had done things differently. And this includes, the choices of who they choose to hang out with and have relationships with that are both platonic and romantic. And it always goes a little bit further than just wondering, these different scenarios. But the difference between these wonders and also, let me see what Ken is writing, some generic thing. The difference between these wonders and what is factual is that based off of what we know, we can verify that the wonders very much could have existed and gone a certain way. So, for example, a lot of times I often think about how great it would have been if, people had made choices to hang out, both platonic and romantic. I've mentioned this before in the origins of the introvert and females in such a way that is negative. It's not meant to, show that I'm somehow better than they are. I firmly believe that most of these individuals, again, on an individual basis, if they wanted to, could meet every expectation and desire that I have. And they're very few, in my view, that, I can't just tolerate and let go of. So, for example, in a perfect world, you have women that like a person who takes the time to get to know them, is there for them, treats them well. In the case of males, and they're it's, I guess the same way around. And you have a genuine belief that people who are together romantically like the person and respect that person. So they don't brag about the behind or the other physical attributes in some way that is demeaning to that partner. But again, that's a perfect world. But instead, it's been replaced by this, and also there is a faction of males who find themselves not in the condition that I and others have witnessed for a while now, and in this perfect world, you have males that understand other guys have problems with this, and they don't try to lunge at them platitudes such as work on yourself, go here, go there, dress this way, look this way, because they know that those guys who are not little babies or anything have found themselves in a scenario for years. They've heard it before. They understand that this is a platitude that's been espoused to them repeatedly to the point where they're tired of it. And they also can look at those guys who say enough is enough and just stop approaching altogether with understanding, for the fact that they know that these guys have become tired with a scenario that they feel is out of their control. As I mentioned before with the you can't make someone like you. How come you keep saying those things are platitudes? Well, if they are phrases that do not have a distinct meaning and are recurringly used for the purpose of suggesting the person who, again, they themselves don't know the full extent of, it becomes a platitude. So, for example, if I say, work on yourself. I'm talking to, let's say, Envoy here. I don't know what Envoy's condition is, so how would I be able to tell him that? For all I know, he's the jack of all trades and everything. And even if he wasn't, so what? I'm supposed to believe that no man has ever been with someone, no man has ever gotten with a woman while not being the best of himself. You know, you don't believe that for 2 seconds, but again, that's what I'm saying, Envoy. So in this perfect world, you have women that like males who treat them well and give them the time of day and respect and all the other things that really I at least I believe and I've seen make relationships work. You know, I'm not talking about having sex every 2 minutes. I'm talking about people who go and get married for 20 or 30 years. You have to have that basic foundation of confidence in the intelligence of the other person and pragmatism in the fact that you're going to find other people that might attract you more physically or you know in some other capacity. More than 50. Well, I'm not part of that 50% Envoy. uh, it's work, yeah. So you get the point, Envoy. And O'Donohue definitely gets it. Going back to what I was saying, but instead it seems that as opposed to having this be the way that males and females are, you have men who, you know, resort to calling other men, um, various demeaning terms, or assuming or alleging that they're homosexual because they don't operate the same way. In the case of women, you have a lot of them that instead of filling their heads with knowledge about any given topic, they've instead resorted to taking sexually suggestive pictures and post them on websites such as Instagram and Twitter, with males salivating at the mouths to state their satisfaction with them, even knowing that the guy's comment is one of tens, if not 20 guys who the person is going to ignore. Exactly, VVS, but that's part of why I talk about this scenario, because it's very possible to have males who do not have something in common with another man and empathize with that person, understand that person, and do it in a way to where the person does not feel you are going out of your way to try and make someone feel lesser than a man or lesser than themselves. See, the toxic environment of trying to have a dialogue with a lot of people who don't get it, who don't know what it's like to go year after year, with the worrying that no one will ever want them, at least romantically, is that they oftentimes find themselves assuming that this must be the case because of something relating to you, not realizing that when you are pouring into an individual over something that is, just all over the place, with males of different ethnicities, appearances, likes and dislikes, it becomes much harder for anything you say to that person, who again is aware that many other males have this problem, to be taken seriously, because they're thinking about the fact that you're trying to analyze the hell out of everything about them, while they know that loads and loads of guys of all shades, stripes, and views and whatnot have the same problem. And again, in this perfect world, you would have males who don't face this problem being able to understand that and not trying to demean their contemporaries. Well, Envoy, I think you remember what my message was, which was that if you like someone, go and talk to them. So, if I really hope my view has not been misconstrued. But going back to the, let me say a little Dirk, going back to the female part, I just think about, because see, when I made the video about why prostitutes are better than girlfriends, it was designed to tell you that there are a number of characteristics that have come from this modern toxic quote unquote romance that you see oftentimes in the form of escorts. So, for example, there's been this push to tell someone that you need to have certain amounts of cash to impress somebody, and that's something that if you have, why would you go out of your way to then impress the person with anything other than this money? And that's something that a prostitute wouldn't you wouldn't have to worry about with one of them. But when I make a installment such as that, it feels as if people read the title and feel the need to condemn it in the sense that they look at this title and they say, oh, this is how he thinks of all women, which is not true. I am very disillusioned with how they are romantically, and it saddens me that even with ones that I think are smart or otherwise have something of values. For example, I used to for a lot of times correspond with people who like the same things I liked. I've tried talking to women that were into politics, ones that like to draw as well, and it always seemed as if you ask the person, things relating to those topics, they can have a conversation where you're so impressed by their ability to have a dialogue, to just talk about that thing. But when you get them into attempting to speak on what they find attractive romantically, it's almost as if the person went brain dead. And I don't know what the correlation is, but it saddens me to see people that I like for more than what they look like, and have them just completely throw their everything to the wayside as far as actually thinking about what could be and why they should give it a try or a thought. Let's see. Envoy says, I don't mean to be divisive here, but I hope everyone should be, not just but for yourself. Well, look, that's been my point, that the things we do, if they're improving, should not be done with the aim of getting a woman, or attracting anybody to us at all. When I was doing this project of mine, for example, I didn't care what someone else thought of it. I just liked the fact that I was telling this story, and not having that wonder of, oh man, if only I hadn't have put it off, and only if only I hadn't have wondered if people would like it or not, and scared myself out of doing it. I wanted to have that done because I wanted a top goal of mine to be fulfilled, and that's something that people should have without thinking of how it affects someone else. But I really want you guys to think about this from the standpoint of just someone who's watching something as years go by. Like take BVS for example. He comes in here, um, and he's upset about things with chicks, and I think that it's earned and it's justified. That's just my bias from also having it. But could you imagine what VVS would be like if the first woman he approached, or the first two or three out of those three, two of them or one of them said yes? Not even the fact that after that he had troubles, just every now and again somebody said yes. Like for every like maybe three or four, somebody says yes. I guarantee you, even if he did say, "Oh well, these didn't work out," he wouldn't feel as if it was that hard to just start it up, to just get them to treat him like a human being. And you wouldn't have him in here going, "Oh man, this sucks. This is, terrible." Which again is a feeling that one who doesn't look into his past or think about what could have happened to him might see as just this negative guy online, when in reality there is a story and a background to it. Let's see here. Envoy says, I think if you want to meet and be more, there's nothing wrong with that. I strive to. No, Envoy, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not indicating a person, should not try to do what they can to interact with others. I have proven my own willingness to do that. What I'm telling you is that if these improvements are at the cost of destroying what you like about you, you really need to evaluate that. Because I can tell you this, I've had many of people, say get out of politics, get out of drawing, get out of writing, because this will not get you, some woman. And I don't care, because those things are part of what makes me who I am. And why would I sabotage that? Because on the chance, not the guarantee, the chance that someone might find me slightly more attractive, and even then might still string me along. Let me read what VVS said. I'm gonna read what Envoy. I'll put it. It's in order. Oh, Donahue, definitely. I told you about the one I went up to and I said hello, and then she proceeded to walk away after I told her I want to speak to her. VVS says, man, and imagine I didn't have to run no stupid game just to get some decent companionship. That happened to me before, and I know it could again. Envoy says, people who live in who they live, people who in live who are successful are the confident ones. Life at the park, charismatic, funny ones, smart ones. I always tell me to be like that. I understand. We're saying the same point. I'm just talking to the chat. Always says I agree with that. Don't throw away your desires and hobbies for some chick. Uh, Dirk says apparently women don't want to be with lame people, so I don't have a chance the moment they see me. Yeah, but Dirk, here's the thing. That comment is not, not you necessarily, but just I can guarantee you've probably had someone in your life tell you that or have come to that view as based off of what you've seen. But think about this. If someone doesn't give you the time of day, doesn't ask you what your hobbies are, what you're into, how would they know if you're lame or not? How would they have any indication? And this is what pisses me off about these assumptions that are made. How does someone who doesn't give you any attention whatsoever suddenly have a window into your soul? This is why the commenters who leave these things preaching about do this, do that, and you get a woman don't come across as actually being anything realistic because you're talking to someone who you literally don't know, but just assuming based off of what you would like to be fact so it can appeal to your own narrative and agenda. Envoy says a lot of people don't even know what lame means all the time. Yeah, but that term is also there's no set definition for that. Yeah, well, Envoy, I'm not just into political things in history. I'm not. I exercise fairly regularly. As I said before, I draw, I write. I mean, I don't know what it, it's nonsensical to believe that no one who's been into these things, or even a combination of them, has ever been unable to has never been able to get with a woman. It doesn't make sense. But again, if we lived in this ideal society I was talking about, you wouldn't have such bizarro world theories and claims being made about people. You would have understanding, and that's why things are always going to stay the way they are. Where you have guys who go through this and are tired of it and say screw it, and then ones who accuse you of being homosexual and all this other nonsense without ever trying to learn who you are. And you might ask yourself, what does it accomplish for them to assume things about me? Well, it serves their narrative because they want to believe there is something behind or in your mind or whatever that is causing this. They don't want to think, here's a normal guy who, if we didn't know about his relationship status, we wouldn't think anything bad of him. We wouldn't say he's some terrible person or some freak of nature, some horrid accident. Envoy says, do you sometimes feel like people are just dealt with better hands in dating? Like naturally they can just, despite their look and situation, like kind of like a universe working in mystery. Well, when I talked about being cursed, I always wanted to believe you just put enough work in it. And this is where there's the disconnect. If someone wants to become a doctor, if they want to become politically aware, if they want to become anything that requires an intake of knowledge, they go out and they read some books, they can and get a degree there or whatever. It's possible. But we're talking about the human factor. The human factor is one of the most flawed things that the world has ever seen. It might make sense to let's say Envoy is a woman. It might make sense to him to go for some guy that, treats him well, has their own place. Maybe is middle class, lower middle class, but is working and saving up, and you can actually see making some strides and where they're going. But we're talking about a rational mind at work, as opposed to the unrealistic, warped view that both males and females have, which is that if this person doesn't fit all of my little, boxes and checkpoints, get them out of here. When I talked about and I hope this answered that question. If it didn't, I'll try to answer it again. But when I talked about the woman I spoke with for 3 months, that was someone who went out of her way to pick and find things to be bothered by me with. Complained about religion, complained about location, And these are all things that she was privy to in our first dialogue. But as time went by, she kept looking for things to ensure that in her mind, I was not good enough. I was incompatible. And this is something that would never go into my mind and probably would never go into the minds of everybody else in here because we're so tired of people around us treating us like crap that, we welcome the companionship of someone, no matter where they are. And I certainly do. Dirk says, then again, I'd like to give everyone a chance to see if they are for me. Dirk says, the modern women have on the next one mentality. Uh, VVS says, us as men can't afford to be that picky. Our odds are low already. That works just makes it worse. Exactly. Too bad. Don't think that way. Oh, I got Dirk and Cortez mixed up because you guys both had the little blue no avatar thing, the baby blue color. Yeah, that foreign thing sound. Well, she was foreign, the one I was telling you about. So that's a possibility, I guess. But I just got through 2 days ago having a person effectively lambast me. They complained about how I looked, everything, both physical appearance, clothing, uh, characteristics. Don't talk to many people. You do your own thing. I mean, it was really a hit piece, in my opinion. And they found themselves not being able to. There's a male who does this, by the way. I'm going to disclose that as well. They found themselves not being able to understand where their comments had come off as just being, plain nasty. But when I was thinking about what they said, and it did disappoint me. But it also made me sad because I thought to myself, wouldn't it have been so much better and so much more memorable, at least positively to me, if they had sat there and said, I don't like this one thing that, you've done or you are, but I'm fine with these other things and I believe in you. But you never get that from these commenters on here. You don't get that from these women that don't pay attention to you, and then you have to take the fall for and the blame for why it didn't work. It's literally designed so that they can make your life a living hell no matter what way you go. If you continue to go out and you try to talk to people and it doesn't work, you're the problem. If you ignore those people and do your own thing and interact with the few that do pay you attention, you're the problem. So really, what you have to understand is that a lot of us get tired of the basic concept of I'm going to go and talk to this person and get treated like crap, and then have people who were not privy to the conversation treat me like crap as a result or blame me for it. And most of you are sick of that. And you're sick of that because you know that if people didn't want to do that, they wouldn't do it. Again, imagine a world where there is a rate for each of us. We're not, and this is something that could be possible if the people involved chose for it to be this way, where you go out and approach, somebody might not like you, but they at least take the time to know why they don't like you. Maybe that you have hobbies that they don't find interesting, or they don't want to go too far. The point is that this is something that could have been fixed by humans, but they're so damn stupid they don't want to realize how they're destroying any chance for anybody to ever just communicate with each other again. Look, when you see those comments by people writing about, oh, he's so negative, they're not trying to understand this. They're not trying to make things better. They just want it to be worse. They want you to feel bad. They want you to completely throw yourself into this pit of darkness. And I've tried with subscribers and people who have paid attention to my content to do the reverse. It's destructive criticism. It's designed to plunge you into depression, to make you feel worse or horrible about yourself. What are you going to do about it? Elliot asked. Accept it for what it is. I will continue to give the time of day to people who I feel are attempting to be nice and objectionable and actually, have something decent to say. And as far as these women are concerned, they are a permanent reminder to me of everything that is wrong with the human factor. This desire to try to make a man walk on water. In the case of these guys that supposedly, have the thing going on, they're another reminder. Instead of sitting there and trying to mentor somebody and actually taking the time to get why they are the way that they are, you sit there and you condemn them and you make it no better in bridging this gap between who is successful and who isn't. And they won't be successful in making me feel bad about myself. You know, if you sit there and you accept a person for who they are and they stick a middle finger in your face, why should you feel bad? And was it worth changing everything that you were so that you could appeal, so that you could run on the off chance that someone likes that? It doesn't seem that way to me. But yeah, I get saddened by them because I genuinely think these people, this whatever percentage of women I'm talking about, whatever percentage of guys that supposedly get it, they are a reminder of what is incorrect and wrong with the world. Going through a drive. Right. Well, negative emotions are not, we're not born with those. They're made and they're produced from experiences. And those experiences do not just wash away, even, if a month or two goes by. They are things that we remember because they are frustrating and, in some cases, downright disturbing to us because we think to ourselves, why can't they get it? Why can't they understand? Because they don't want to. You have a lot of people who will watch the first 5 or 3 minutes of this in the replay and proceed to write some paragraphs long comments. You have a lot of individuals who will call themselves trying to check this. And I don't claim to have all of the answers or even any of them at all, but I can tell you that the way things are is not good. Um, and if you had women who actually were sympathetic to this issue, you would not see the goalposts that have been arranged. And if you had guys who were sympathetic, who actually wanted to see other males succeed, they wouldn't sit there and tell you how much of a beta male you are for not being like them or getting what they say or doing as they want you to do. You would see them state in so many words, I get it, it sucks, here's what I do, take it or leave it. That would be it. And also think of how much more rewarding that would be for society. Here's a group of people. You have the guys who have trouble. You have the guys that get it. You have the women who they're trying to get with, who all comprehend the basic issue with each group. The guys that want to get it but don't get it, get that women don't want to just be seen as sex objects, and that these other guys have something that they don't have, and these guys get the same thing about women. They get the guys don't want to be seen as homosexual or some other nonsense that they've misconstrued for the sake of dispelling whatever accurate critique the male is making of these other two subgroups. And so in understanding each other, they sit there and they try to work things out. They go and say, hey, I'm going to talk to as many people as I can. I'm going to not condemn somebody for just being a member of this group. I don't know them. That would have made, this would have made, even if you thought that relationships, were bad, everyone understanding each other would have almost certainly erased at least that basic point of this combative rhetoric that you see from the other two sides. And it would have made each one of us feel as though we had some kind of depth and purpose to interacting with each other, that comprehension was there, that people were using the thinking skills they should have had since second grade, that the education system wasn't wasted so that you could go to school and as you grow up, uh, get lustful for your classmate. It actually mattered what you learned in there. But again, they have wasted their potential. They have wasted any chance for that to happen. But it still could happen, even if I doubt it. And if it happens, which probably won't be in my lifetime, you will at the very least see people who do not feel depressed or negative because they are understood. And when they're understood, their needs are either met or they're not misconstrued. So even if you didn't get with someone, you wouldn't have people alleging you're homosexual or telling you need to, morph into some, Hollywood actor, and you wouldn't feel the extra sense of despair at the thought that just because of one thing, your entire life is demoted. And that would have been something actually worth hearing out of the mouths of those who aren't part of this group. Oh yeah, I know Envoy. They get the attention, but again, if women gave men attention, just guys, they're around, and it was actually the one of trying to, rather than talking to them, listen to them. If it was that, I'm about 98% sure you wouldn't have as many people coming in this comment section and saying the same thing that I'm saying in many cases. And one of the things that always pisses me off about people is that it's like they can never quite get the idea that life is very limited. Um, you're not guaranteed next week, next year, any of that. And it's like these groups just go out of their way to screw yours over. Um, let's say you have a woman that wants to get married. She will tell a guy who wants the same thing, "You're not attractive enough for me." Screw the fact that you can provide for me. Screw the fact that you have a job. Screw the fact that you have X, Y, and Z, because you don't have this other thing that I need to stare and gawk at that won't do anything for me other than turn me on for 2 minutes. Uh, Cast to the wayside. But imagine if they weren't that way. You would see, not only would you see people all trying to get a job, all trying to save up and actually be able to provide and support their partner. I truly believe there would be a down spike in crime because remember, people who are convicted and have these records have no, in a lot of cases, have no problem getting in a relationship because the woman they're with does not care about whether or not that person can provide, so long as she can go. And that's also a problem. But again, if they weren't that way, you would see a down spike in crime. Nobody would be depressed over, oh, I can't get with somebody. It would be on a level that I genuinely think the masses would not recognize while also adapting to. And if you had these guys who call themselves being experts, not trying to degrade and defile those that don't get it, supposedly, it'd be the same way. You wouldn't see anyone talking about, oh man, nobody gets me, nobody understands, because they would try to understand. They would share those tips. They would, you know, convey what it is. This is a learned behavior. Yeah, well, it's a behavior that needs to be destroyed. And if it were destroyed, I guarantee you'd have less crime. Um, Again, if you replaced looks with, what the person actually has to offer, you'd have less crime because less people would feel the need to go out and do things. They'd see the penalty of doing things because, see, a lot of people don't realize the main thing a lot of males want is sex, companionship with the opposite sex. So if there is a guarantee that they will see less, romantic interest just because they committed a crime, it would be over. That would be it. People want to hop in bed way more than they want those Air Jordans. No, no, Demonio, I get it. I understand. I'm telling you that this is something a lot of people want. That uh, if it were presented in a different way, or if it were incentivized in another manner, it would be very different. Well, it has to be voluntary. Winter fresh. They have to come to an agreement and say, I am tired of people breaking the law, males breaking the law. So we're not going to have any kind of anything to do with you if you do that. And it would you would crime rate would drop almost overnight if you had all the women just sign like a little document. And if it were based on the criteria of how somebody acted and what they had to offer versus how they looked, it be you wouldn't this stream wouldn't even be happening right now. I might have like one person in here, and also it would have made life more fulfilling in the sense that when you because see when you have accomplishments from the standpoint of a career, you feel happy. You know, let's say you work a job and you get your paycheck, you feel satisfied that your work was acknowledged in a way that is tangible to you. And a lot of people who have problems with their relationships, be they platonic or romantic, don't feel as if they're seeing any tangible proof that it's getting better. So if you had people that, women that liked what you had to offer and also understood that a person who can provide is better than someone they can look at and lust for, it, it it just would give all of us that extra step and that extra motivation to go out and be the supposed best of ourselves. So I hope what I said here has been understood. I think it's sad the way things are, but I think if people wanted it to get better, it could be, and hopefully at some point we might see a difference. I think that it will continue, but it life would be better for all of us if we went based off of actions rather than looks, and if we just tried to make things better for each other, and really just put ourselves in the shoes of the people that we don't understand. Like if you're a woman, say to yourself, why are these guys so upset about not being able to get one of me? You know, if you're a guy that supposedly gets it, why are these guys so upset about not being able to do what I want? If they did that, you would have a completely different scenario. So thank you. Have a good day.